afternoon. Welcome to Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone. We have a great show for you today. It is Financial Literacy Month, and I have two gentlemen in the studio that are going to talk to you about a couple of events that are going on this month that you want to know about. And that's the first half of this show. And the gentlemen that are on the show are our Shelby County Trustee, David Lenoir, and Reverend Keith Norman with First Baptist Broad here in Memphis. We're going to have a great discussion with the both of them about a project that a number of churches are working with the county trustee on, and I think you're going to want to learn about it. And in the second half hour of Dialogue with Deidre, we're going to be talking about the presidential race. Exciting news last week on two fronts. Marco Rubio is interested in being the next president, as well as Hillary Clinton. We'll have dialogue about that in the second half hour of Dialogue with Deidre. We'll be back in a moment.
I like to ride my bike to get some exercise, just kind of clear my head.
I like to ride because it's really fun for me and my fiance to go ride together.
I started riding my bike as a way to save money on gas.
I like to ride my bike mostly because it's fun and it's good exercise.
That's how I get everywhere. It's how I go to grocery stores, to go to work. It's how I go to my friend's house.
Sometimes I just like to not even have a particular destination in mind, just to see different parts of the city.
Just going through the park, you see people, and if you're on your bike, you can smile or say hello.
I own 5 bikes. The green Schwinn is my grandfather's bike, and every time I ride it, and he can be with me where I go.
I'm not burning gas, I'm not polluting the air. And in a way, it kind of gets me back to the kid in me, which is kind of cool.
I'm Dominique Dawes. How do you start your day? I always start with a healthy breakfast. Whether you're practicing for a game or studying for a test, eating breakfast every day can improve your concentration and help you perform your best. Kids who eat a healthy breakfast have more energy to work hard and play hard. That's why you should check out your school's breakfast program. It's for everyone, so make sure you energize your day. Eat school breakfast.
Welcome back to Dialogue with Deidre. I have two good-looking, tall men in the studio with me today, and we're going to be talking about financial literacy and what's going on. Shelby County Trustee David Lenoir and Reverend Keith Norman with First Baptist Broad. Gentlemen, welcome to Dialogue with Deidre.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, Mr. Trustee, talk to me about why are you doing this? I know that you have a number of programs that you're involved in. You know, you're supposed to be the banker for the county.
That's right.
But you have a great deal of community service going on.
We do, Deidre. And first of all, thanks for having us on and helping us spread the word about a very important need within our community as it relates to the financial health of the community. I know you remember Bob Patterson was the trustee for many years. Bob dubbed the trustee not so much the tax collector, but as the banker for the county. So when I ran for office originally back in 2010, the financial health of our community was a real concern, and the poverty within our community. And not so much just the situational poverty, but the generational poverty that persists within our community. And so when I came into office, we started a number of initiatives that relate to financial education. I believe that is a cornerstone to addressing the financial health and education of our community is financial education. For instance, we have Project Home workshops where we work with delinquent taxpayers who are behind on their taxes. We started out 3 years ago with one workshop a month. We've now built that up to 2 workshops a month, teaching delinquent taxpayers how to be better stewards of their monies. And with April being Financial Literacy Month, we have a couple of those workshops going on this month. We also recently started an initiative for the youth within our community called On My Own. It's a financial simulation game where young people can see what it's like to be an adult, married with 2 kids, a single parent. So they go through these scenarios and they have to decide how are they going to spend their money. What kind of house or apartment are they going to live in? What kind of car are they going to drive? How much money are they going to budget for groceries, for instance? And so it's extremely important to me that we have this continued conversation, whether it's with our adults or with our youth, on how to be better stewards of the money that we have been entrusted with.
Well, I'm just excited to see that you're partnering with local churches on this initiative as a part of, you know, National Literacy Month.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So we have Reverend Keith Norman in the studio. Can you talk to us about what's going on with the spent movie screenings?
Sure. Well, I believe that at the heart of any good city or any good community is a good church. And so we reached out to Pastor Norman. He said, come on. We identified the Binghamton community that he serves as a community that has a high concentration of folks who use alternative check cashers and payday lenders. And that's really what Spent is all about, is trying to open eyes and raise the awareness of people who are caught in this cycle of going to check cashers, title pawns, pawn shops. And so we reached out to Pastor Norman. Spent is a documentary. It's narrated by Tyler Perry. It's about a 40-minute documentary. Pastor Norman was gracious enough to host it at his church on Tuesday, April the 21st. And then we're going to have a dialogue, a conversation after the viewing of the documentary to talk about what needs to change within our community as it relates to alternative lenders and title pawns.
So, Pastor, why did you think it was important to be a part of this?
Well, first of all, it's a part of the continual work that we do in the church. We don't believe in just having Sunday worship services, if you will. We believe that we should take the ministry of Christ to where people really are, outside of the 4 walls of the church. And nothing impacts the life of people who are caught up in the cycle of poverty more than financial literacy. I was very excited when the trustee reached out to us, and we were able to make an agreement, I think within 30 seconds. Probably the quickest contract we've ever signed, because he started talking the language of what we've been talking about for years. It's no coincidence that the very game that he just spoke of, our children will be playing that game tonight in Bible study. That's what we do. I mean, we take relevant issues of the day, because I don't believe you can. The only other place to have this would be in school. The church is probably one of the highest most used community resources that you could find outside of neighborhood schools. And so using this kind of program and showing this movie and educating people about financial literacy is a right-at-home issue with us.
Well, Pastor Norman, you know, you wear several hats, and so today you have pastor hat on, but you also are the president of the NAACP here in Memphis.
One of the 5 initiatives of the NAACP, financial literacy.
Exactly.
Yeah, we recognize that education and financial literacy is not just about credit management or how to get a job, but building sustainable wealth over a lifetime, breaking the cycle of poverty, and making sure that we have something to leave the next generation. These are all things that we really talk about in the NAACP on a regular basis. It's one of the 5-year initiatives that we have that's supposed to impact African Americans and others who are caught up in the cycle of poverty over the next 25 years. This is something we're working hard on.
When you think about the number of check cashing, predatory lending organizations that exist primarily in not just African American communities, but poor communities that exist within within specifically Memphis. Right. You know, there's just a proliferation of them. Yes. Will this documentary kind of deal with that at some level?
Well, it does. It demonstrates the creep, if you will, that has occurred within that industry of outside the areas and of town where you would think a predatory lender would reside. It's creeped all across the county. I know, as one who lives on one side of the county and works on the other side, as you traverse the county, they're all over the place, and they're there because the customers are there. They're there because there's been a crunch of the middle class, and unfortunately, many have moved downstream, if you will, financially. And so it is without a doubt a big challenge to not only lean on the predatory lenders, but also lean on the banking community. Mayor Wharton and I partnered on an initiative called Bank On Memphis.
Right.
Yes.
And Bank On Memphis is all about providing access to those who don't have access. There are 90,000 households, not people, households within Shelby County who do not have a relationship with a traditional bank or traditional credit union. They're using these alternative lenders. And so as the banker for the county, we've used county funds as on deposit at local banks to lean on those banks to create products and services for the underserved within our community as it relates to banking. And so that's an important initiative that we've launched. It will take a long time to see the fruits of those labors, but as long as I'm trustee and I'm an elected official, I will continue the conversation as it relates to financial education.
David, why do you think that is, though, that, you know, some people are uncomfortable with banks?
I think some of it is a trust issue.
Okay.
I think some of it is a mentoring or a modeling issue. They've never seen it modeled in someone else's life. I think some of it is they've had a bad experience. And some, I think it's well documented. I'm a reader. A book I read off the books, The Underground Economy of the Urban Poor. Some don't want to have a banking relationship. They want to stay out of the system, if you will. And so while I would love to set a goal and say everyone within Shelby County needs to have a banking relationship, it's not a realistic goal because there are some that want to stay out of the system, so to speak. But I think a lot of it has to do with trust, and that's why financial education is a huge component of addressing the poverty within our community.
Do you think that's correct?
That's true. That is correct. There are some other issues. Obviously, a history of trust is a big issue. But there are also some things where people specifically have had bad experiences with banks. People have been turned down when they thought they should have been approved. Access to banks. If a bank is not close in walking distance, or if I can't get on a bus and ride to a bank, these are things that happen to people who live in the inner city, in urban communities. A long history of what happened years ago. The cost of services for banks can be absorbent. When I have $100 extra in the bank and you charge me $10 or $15 per month to watch my 100, that's taking a large chunk of money out of what I need to use. And so people have different reasons and different experiences, but overall we have to equate that this is a worst experience when you use some of the payday lenders and the title loan places and pawn shops. it's instant gratification, but it's a long-term poverty situation, and it's digging a bigger hole.
Do you think that these individuals prey on the poor?
I most certainly believe
and uninformed?
That they do. I most certainly believe that they do. I'm very excited, and I'll let David address that, but I'm aware, and we've been vigilant on this issue for years in our community, and we've spoken out against it. At one point, there was legislation even being considered for making some of the title owner payday lenders 24 hours. Can you imagine a person who just wants to do good for their child? I want to see my child go on a field trip tomorrow, but I don't have the resources.
Right.
And here's this 24-hour place in walking distance of my community. I'll get up at 2 o'clock at night and make the worst deal of a lifetime, thinking that I can help my child with good intentions. And we see so many people who are caught up in that conundrum. One particular story where we saw a man who was attending a church. I won't call the name of the church, but he was attending a church. He needed to pay his house note, catch it up. Right. He takes his car, he gets a title loan, and catches up just to play catch up to get his house note paid up. Car quits, he loses his job, he ends up losing the car because he cannot go back and pay off the loan because he loses his job. 3 months later, he's in foreclosure. He loses a house and a car and a job, all over one bad decision.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's a very vicious cycle.
So, the event coming up at Pastor Norman's church, Mr. Trustee.
April 21st.
Yes.
It's a Tuesday night. Again, we're thankful that Pastor Norman would host it at First Baptist Broad, right there as you come over the viaduct. It's a great location, centrally located to a community that needs the information, and so we're again grateful to you for having us on to help us spread the word. We're trying to do some ground game activity as far as spreading the word as well. But April the 21st, if folks are unable to attend that one, we have another one at St. Andrew's AME on Friday. And then a week later on the 28th, a Tuesday night, we have one at Golden Gate Cathedral with Bishop Ed Stevens. So we're trying to make it available across the community and in communities that are located in need of the information.
Exactly. Binghamton looks like Fraser and South Memphis.
Right.
Memphis is pretty much taken care of.
Yeah.
So we invite our viewers to go out and see this movie.
Right.
And what we'll do is we'll post this information on the Dialogue with Deidre Facebook page, so you'll have access to it to make sure that you know when those events are and what time. They're at 6 o'clock on Tuesday night, but the other two events on the 24th and the 28th are at 7 p.m.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Mr. Trustee David Lenoir, thank you so much for coming on Dialogue with Deidre. And Pastor Norman, thank you so much for coming on, and you all are welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
When we come back, we're going to be talking about the upcoming presidential race. It's going to be hot and heavy for the next, 8 months or so, 9 months or so. But we're going to be talking about who's entered the fray when we come back on Dialogue with Deidre.
I like to ride my bike to get some exercise, just kind of clear my head.
I like to ride because it's really fun for me and my fiance to go ride together.
I started riding my bike as a way to save money on gas.
I like to ride my bike mostly because it's fun and it's good exercise.
That's how I get everywhere. It's how I go to grocery stores, to go to work. It's how I go to my friend's house.
Sometimes I just like to not even have a particular destination in mind, just to see different parts of the city.
Just going through the park, you see people, and if you're on your bike, you can smile or say hello.
I own 5 bikes. The green Schwinn is my grandfather's bike, and every time I ride it, and he can be with me where I go.
I'm not burning gas, I'm not polluting the air. And in a way, it kind of gets me back to the kid in me, which is kind of cool.
I'm Dominique Dawes. How do you start your day? I always start with a healthy breakfast. Whether you're practicing for a game or studying for a test, eating breakfast every day can improve your concentration and help you perform your best. Kids who eat a healthy breakfast have more energy to work hard and play hard. That's why you should check out your school's breakfast program. It's for everyone, so make sure you energize your day. Eat school breakfast.
Be able to go to church and tell pastor or stand up and tell everybody my baby's going to college, my baby got a scholarship. It's the next best thing to dying and going to heaven.
College is a major thing in my family. If you don't finish college, then they don't know you. They do not know you. It would be a very big disappointment.
Okay, so you go to college and you're supposed to be an educated person. Well, first the question is, what does it mean to be an educated person?
The purpose of education is to enlighten a young mind and put them on the path for success.
The function of education is to teach you to handle power. But how can you have power if you don't even have the ability to sustain yourself? We find that the tuition that's being paid is really treated as hush money, because many inside of higher education know that it is not the value that is passed off as being.
I don't feel confident. I'm scared. I'm being truthful. I'm scared out my wits coming if I don't have a job right now.
Like I said, I think Salem is the biggest legal pimp in America.
Information is power. Education is not power.
People that can get out of that line have tangible, sellable skills in other areas. People who don't have those skills have to stay in the line and hope and pray that they get one of the 10 jobs that they probably won't get. Martin Luther King said it best: there comes a point where silence is betrayal. We've come to that point. When college students are graduating in a recession with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and cannot secure employment and are getting $10 an hour jobs, silence is betrayal. What are we being taught? in the name of education. We're being taught to do certain things that prepare us for certain jobs. But we're not taught to live free in the realm of our own possibilities.
About Hillary Clinton running for president in 2016. She made the announcement and made it official over the weekend, and we're going to see if we have that announcement. Eddie, you going to be able to run it? Keep on talking. Keep on talking on the mic. All right. I think we turned the mic off. The mic is back on. So excited to be talking about Hillary Clinton throwing her hat in the ring to run for the presidency of these great United States, 2016. And we have a video clip that we want to run that made the official announcement for her candidacy. Eddie, let's see if we can roll it. Live. Don't worry about it, Eddie. So, anyway, let me just talk to you about the announcement. I mean, she had different people in different phases of their lives talking about change. You know, you had a pregnant couple, you had a woman who was talking about she was about to retire, you had a couple who was just interested in, you know, buying a house, and then Hillary came on at the end and said that she's ready for change and she's excited about being the next president of the United States, and that she was going to start going around this country and having a conversation with people about what they thought this country needed. And so she's in Iowa now, she's making the rounds. Of course, you know, this is not her first time running for president, it's her second time. And the first time she lost in the Democratic primary to the current president, our president, Barack Obama. So is it time for Hillary to be the next president of the United States? Will there be a number of Democrats getting into this primary? I think so. I think that she will not have an opportunity to be the lone ranger in a primary. I think that there have been rumblings that the current vice president, Joe Biden, is probably interested in running, and I think Vice President Biden might be early 70s maybe. I think that you have people who are very interested in Elizabeth Warren, who is a senator coming out of the East Coast, who they're trying to recruit her to run, and I'm hearing that she may be looking at it. But let me just say something about Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton has paid her dues. What other candidate has had the opportunity to say, outside of on the Republican side, that to say that they've had someone in their family to serve as president, but in her own right, she was a first lady, very, very sharp first lady. She's an attorney by trade. She has served this country as a United States Senator for the great state of New York. She was the first lady of Arkansas, side by side with her husband when he was the governor of Arkansas. Went on, again, to be the senator coming out of New York. And then, when she wasn't able to win the Democratic primary for president, she went out on the campaign trail for President Barack Obama. And when she did that, I guess he saw what he could have in a Secretary of State with Hillary Clinton. And she served us well his first term in office and made the decision to leave after the first term. And, you know, she had worked real hard for this country and, you know, spent a great deal of time overseas negotiating with various countries. It was a tough job, but she did an excellent job, you know, in that capacity of Secretary of State. And so with that as a backdrop, her name, of course, would be at the top of the list of Democrats that, you know, Democrats should consider to be our standard bearer for the Democratic Party. And, you know, there's something to be said about individuals in whichever party that has earned their stripes, that have been out in the trenches, you know, fighting and advocating for the working class, fighting and advocating for individuals to have quality education, to have health care. I remember when President Clinton was in office, and it was, you know, very rare that a president would tap their wife to lead a major initiative. And he did, and it was the health care reform initiative. And I think that back then, a lot of people, because they didn't like the president, didn't care for the first lady, they shot it down. But let me just say, that was what she was able to put together, was the foundation of what President Barack Obama was able to accomplish under his leadership. But I mean, she and former Senator Kennedy laid that foundation to make sure that the Affordable Care Act became a reality. So, you know, this lady is a serious contender, and my hope is that, you know, she's been out there one time before and wasn't fortunate, but this time, I mean, she will learn from the mistakes that her campaign strategists made. And I believe that, you know, if Democrats take a serious look at her, she will be able to pull it off in 2016. So, who else announced on the Republican side that they're thinking about running for president? A young senator named Marco Rubio, and he's a Republican senator out of Florida. Marco is 43 years old, and he has a young family, and he believes that it's time for someone of his generation to lead this country. I was watching ABC News the other night when George Stephanopoulos interviewed him and said, "Why you?" And I thought his response was interesting. He said, well, you know, we need somebody who is serious about change, someone who can take this country to the next level. But what I find interesting about that is I think that's what President Obama has tried to do, and on a number of levels you would have the Republican majority try and halt it. So this is one thing that he said. He said that too many of our leaders and our ideas are stuck in the 20th century, said Senator Rubio, pointing to education and spending programs put in place by Democrats in the 1990s. I think I recall that President George Bush, when he was in office, actually spent a great deal of time on education reform. And a lot of people were not real happy with what he advanced. He also said that, you know, he would lean heavily on keeping America safe in this dangerous world, laying out what he considered foreign policy errors by President Obama. He said that the president has made dangerous concessions, and he had made his announcement at Miami's Freedom Tower, which served as a processing center for thousands of Cuban refugees fleeing the government of Fidel Castro. And I think that he is of Cuban descent. Mr. Rubio is of Cuban descent, and he is a young U.S. senator that wants to be the next president of the United States. Other candidates that are talking about it on the GOP side include Jeb Bush, the former governor of Florida, and of course he is the brother of George W. and the son of the former President Bush. So that could potentially be 3 Bushes that have been in the White House if Jeb is fortunate to win the Republican primary, and then if he's fortunate enough to win the the presidency. Well, I know that Democrats like myself will be fighting real hard to make sure that that doesn't happen, but it looks like it's going to be an interesting lineup. You have Scott Walker, who is the governor of Wisconsin, who is talking about running, Rand Paul of Kentucky, and then one of his colleagues, and Rand Paul is a senator out of Kentucky, as well as Ted Cruz, who is a U.S. senator out of Texas. So it looks like the field could be potentially real crowded on the GOP side, so it'll be interesting to see what happens on the Democratic side. So, exciting times over the next few months, 9 months or so, because it'll be a while. We'll be talking about seeing who else gets in these presidential primaries, but it's going to be an exciting time because Democrats have an opportunity to also take back the U.S. Senate, take back the U.S. House, as well as keep the presidency. And a lot of Democrats across this country will be making sure that we work real hard to make that happen. Let me flip the script real quick and talk about something else that's going on here in Memphis and Shelby County. I think that I've mentioned to our viewers that I am the new president of the Tennessee Women's Political Caucus, and with that, we are looking to educate and inspire women across this state to run for office, because when women run for office, you know, you have so many different types of great ideas, and you bring so much to the political process. You know, some of us are mothers, some of us work outside of the home, and those that even work inside of the home have great perspectives and have a great deal to offer. There are those of us who feel so strongly about public education and making sure that it's adequately funded, feel so strongly about making sure that our school zones are safe, making sure that quality businesses come to our community, making sure that when it comes to health care, that people have access to quality health care and viable options for insurance. Women also, and men too, but I'm speaking to women right now, want to make sure that that they live in safe neighborhoods, and that not only do they live in safe neighborhoods, that when you're driving down your neighborhood streets, that they're potted, that there are no potholes, that they can ride in their car, and that there are not many bumps in the road. So for a number of reasons, women are getting engaged, and we want more women to get engaged in the political process. So as the president of the Tennessee Women's Political Caucus, which is a multi-party organization, which means we want women who are Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Green Party members to join our organization, because the whole focus is on educating women on how to position yourself for public office, or to position yourself to manage campaigns, to elect other women, or candidates that are friendly towards women's issues, to position yourself to be able to raise money for candidates of your choice, to position yourself to be able to have access to elected officials so you can be appointed to boards and commissions to have a voice when it comes to your community. So I say that to say I will be in Knoxville, Tennessee this weekend on April the 18th, where we have our Tennessee Women's Political Caucus board meeting. But we're also going to have a workshop, and it's called Ready to Lead, This is What You Do. Something like that. I don't have the workshop information in front of me, but if you're ready to lead, we're going to show you how to do it. So excited about that, getting to meet women in Knoxville to try and educate them on the political process, how important public policy is, and if you are interested in ever running for political office or managing a candidate that is interested in running for political office, these are the things that you need to do. And so that workshop will be at the University of Tennessee Conference Center, starting at 1 o'clock on this Saturday from 1 to 3 o'clock. And if you're interested in participating, then the number to dial to RSVP is 901-278-0881, 901-278-0881. And then with that, because we're only going to be able to have 50 participants. So the phones have been ringing. We've been promoting it in Knoxville, but some people are coming from Memphis up. But those people who are interested in being a part of the caucus, we are having our organizing meeting for the Memphis Women's Political Caucus, which is going to be tomorrow night at Republic Coffee. It starts at 6 o'clock. The dues are $25, and what we'll do with that is, of course, the Tennessee, the local chapter gets a portion of the dues, and then a portion of the dues go to the National Women's Political Caucus, in which we all are affiliated with. What's so exciting about the Memphis Women's Political Caucus is that we're starting over. This is the first meeting. You will have an opportunity to participate in, the election of officers, the review and approval of the Memphis Women's Political Caucus charter. And so there's something exciting about being a part of something from the ground up. And so if you are interested in being a member of the Memphis Women's Political Caucus, which automatically makes you a member of the state caucus and the National Women's Political Caucus, then I invite you out on tomorrow night, which is Thursday night. Republic Coffee is the location, and 6 o'clock is when we will begin our organizing meeting. So thank you so much for showing an interest in the caucus, and you can also visit our Tennessee Women's Political Caucus website to learn more about what we're doing and the events that we have coming up. And that website address is TennesseeWPC.org, TennesseeWPC.org, or TNWPC.org. So excited about that. And I want to just reiterate what David Lenoir, the county trustee, talked about earlier on the show, and Pastor Keith Norman. It is Financial Literacy Month, and the trustee's office is working with local clergy to host the Spent Movie Night. And this movie is a documentary that is narrated by Tyler Perry. You know who Tyler Perry is, and you've probably been to see a number of his movies, and he's got a lot of shows on Oprah's network, the OWN network. And Spent, Looking for Change. It's a documentary that follows the lives of 4 American families wrestling with the cost and inconvenience that come with living outside the traditional financial system. In talking to the trustee and Pastor Norman, one thing that I do realize is that there are a lot of banking deserts that exist. You know, we always talk about the number of churches on corners within the city of Memphis and the county of Shelby, but there is not a lot of proliferation of banks in this city or this county, but there are a heck of a lot of title loan facilities and predatory, in my opinion, lending organizations where you go in and you give them the title of your car, and and they hold it until you can pay them their money back. A number of those institutions that are here in Memphis and Shelby County. I was reading somewhere that there are about 263 licensed check cashers, payday lenders, and title loan stores. 243 here in Memphis. And they charge almost 300%. 300% APR. Something's really wrong with that. Something is really wrong with that. And so this movie, this documentary that's going to be shown at First Baptist Broad on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock is going to share with you about the lives of four families that have gone through this. So I just want to thank you so much for viewing our show today, Dialogue with Deidre. I hope you were able to get something out of it. I want you to know that I'm so proud of the fact that attorney Michelle Alexander Best, one of my good friends, is one of the sponsors of Dialogue with Deidre. And she's a great attorney. I've known her for at least 15 years. And my firm's used her for some legal work as well. And I mean, just just a wonderful spirit. I mean, you wouldn't meet a nicer person and a great legal mind here in this community. So we want you to give her a call if you have any legal needs. And I want to thank her again for sponsoring Dialogue with Deidre for the month of April. We're so excited about her and excited about her sponsorship. So I want to say goodbye to you. We'll see you next week on Dialogue with Deidre. If you have any show suggestions for me, inbox me on the Dialogue with Deidre Facebook page. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you think about the show. I mean, are we up to par? What do we need to do to change to make you really want to watch every Monday and Wednesday? And excited about the opportunity of bringing more shows onto the M Network. You're going to be hearing more about that. We have a number of people who are coming on board, and so the programming that you so currently enjoy, there's going to be more of it. And here at the M Network, we're really excited about it. So, but we want to hear from you. And you know how to reach us. You can call me anytime at 901-278-0881, or you can inbox me on the Dialogue with Deidre Facebook page, or you can email me at dmalone@cmgpr.com, and that's my Carter Malone Group email address. I want to thank you again for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll be right back here on Monday. You're watching Dialogue with Deidre.